How's it going, guys? Mark is back today, and I'd like to have a quick chat with you folks on the Integy Tire Balancer. Now, a couple of my friends asked me, hey, can you do a quick video on how to exactly balance a Traxxas wheel tire setup? Now, why Traxxas in particular, and why not all the other ones? Well, because Traxxas is a unique company, in quotation, guys. Now, Traxxas, as we all know, they use this weird star-shaped pattern in their bolts, right? And their nuts, which we all know requires this funky tool here that, with time obviously strips, etc., etc. But we all see the pattern that's on the Traxxas wheels, right? Wheel hubs, if you will. So, Integy, when they send you this particular tire balancer, it's gonna come with 4 adapters: 1, 2, 3, 4. And these 4 adapters are actually, depending on your size. So this is for a 1/5 scale, and this guy right here is supposed to fit the X0-1, but it doesn't. Why? Well, like I said, it doesn't fit because of Traxxas. Here, let me show you on this one. You'll see it better. Because of its shape. Now, you see these little posts, if you will, right? There's one, there's one. That's what's keeping this thing in sliding into place. They're actually the same size. It's actually the correct size that Integy has provided, but because Traxxas is Traxxas, they need a special design, and it's almost like a star shaped. Now, to fix this problem, you kind of have to, dig into your toolbox and find a couple of spare parts, or you have to experiment, unfortunately, in this situation with these X0-1 tires, right? So I'm going to tell you what I did and how I managed to balance these tires without a problem. So let's get started. Okay, so to balance your Traxxas X0-1 tire with this setup, guys, if you can try to find a bearing, an old bearing, and the size of this bearing, it's a 12. All right, there it is. Let me snap that on. So that's a 12. Boom, doesn't go any further than that, as we can all see. So either get a size 12 old bearing. This is actually from my Traxxas Summit hubs that came in. These are actually Integy bearings. And I'm not a big fan of Integy bearings. They're really, really poor quality. So I tend to order my own bearings, a higher quality. And even the bearings that Traxxas uses, it's complete garbage, right? It's crap. So I like to upgrade my bearings when I rebuild my vehicles. So anyway, having said that, so take a size 12 bearing, and that's what we're going to use, okay? So remember this bearing, keep that close by. Now we're going to take the second biggest one. This is the second biggest one, and we're going to attach this onto here. Now make sure when we're attaching it that you're attaching it exactly this way. So the neck faces this way. Now, the reason for that is because if you can see right there, it's not an actual circle. It's almost like a square shaped. You see that? So this square actually has to slide right into here. Okay? So let me show you a little bit closer here. And so we're just going to hold that. And you see how that slid in? It's nice and flush. It's nice and flush right there. That's exactly what you want, okay? So that's step number one. Step number one. Step number two, we're going to take our actual wheel, and we're going to pop it on here, okay? Now, when you pop it on, it's really, really loose. It's really loose and awkward, right? It doesn't feel right. This is when we take our bearing we pop it on here, and you still hold it in place like that. Now, the next thing I do is I take this bigger size of the adapter here, this adapter, and I just screw it in. Okay? Screw it in, screw it in, screw it in. Make sure that the bearing is nice and center in a way. So I kind of have to unscrew it and let it drop to the center. Now it's pretty much center, so I tied it up. It's all tight. Here we go. Now, excuse the wobble. This is a bad X0-1 wheel. You know, it's seen better days. But the Integy tire balancer does a great job, and this is how it works. So this thing actually functions in a full bearing, and yeah, I think it works wonderful. So we're gonna wait until it stops here for a sec. Now, I'm not touching it. As you guys can see, I'm not touching it. It's still spinning. Still spinning. It's got a very good bearing in there. And voila. Now it stops. And, you know, for those people that have never balanced a tire, you have to wait until the tire stops. Once the tire stops, the wheel, you got to mark at the top. You know, I usually use maybe a removable marker or maybe a little bit of highlight, whiteout, or whatever you can find. Anything that can identify the spot, you just mark your spot here. You turn your you turn your wheel around, and you put either, you know, hobby clay on the bottom here. People use all sorts of stuff. They, you know, glue little screws up there. They screw little screws in there. They use super glue. Whatever you can find to, you know, have a weight in here to attach something in there that can, you know, balance the tire, or tape or something, anything like that. You know, tape a couple of screws together or something like that. That'll work as well. But this is the setup. This is how it's done. You know, this is my fix. And you know, if it would have been a low C5T tire or something like that, you know, we wouldn't need this bearing. The only reason why I'm using this bearing, guys, like I said, is because of the Traxxas star-shaped nut ways. And again, I apologize on the quality and the sound of this video. You know, I hope it'll help some of you guys out. And it works great for me. If you have any questions or comments, let me know if I can help you out with anything further. All right, you guys have a wonderful, you know, rest of your evening, and go have a beer or a tea or whatever it is that you like to do. And I'm gonna go make some spaghetti. Take care.